Good morning. I'm Desi Spey. I'm the COO of Desert Highlands, and I am here with someone who really needs no introduction. When you think of North Scottsdale, when you think of the legacy of the Skins game, it's all about this man right here, Mr. Lyle Anderson. Couldn't be more honored to be sitting here with you. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Desi. It's great to be here.
We're excited to learn more about you and your original vision for Desert Highlands, and so again, thank you, and couldn't be more excited. Love to start out and just learn more about you. You know, where did Lyle grow up, and tell us about your childhood and what brought you to Scottsdale.
Well, I grew up in Seattle, and I had the good fortune when I was a little boy. I was about 5 years old, and my dad had a little 9-hole golf course, of all things. And I used to go out on his truck and work with him and be with him for the day as he's out doing all his things, because he handled everything. And we lived in a little clubhouse that was the house for the first tee and all that. And we lived there, and then unfortunately, a few months later, we got flooded out. There was a river that ran through the golf course, and we got flooded. And I remember going with my father out in a rowboat to the house and picking up all our goods. And then my family was on Red Cross, and we moved in. And then I moved in with because of lack of room, we moved in with an uncle that we had, my little sister and my mother and my father, and then I lived with a Chinese family across the street. So I had a very interesting young childhood. But golf kind of stayed with me, and from that early time, and so probably one of the reasons I got into it. I don't know though, but things occurred over a period of time. But then I went to the University of Washington, graduated in electrical engineering. Started on my career, I always wanted to own my own business, and I was lucky at the beginning through sales. I got into the sales world of real estate sales, and then one thing led to another, and finally, after all the years in sales and then buying and selling real estate, I wound up in the development business right here with this property. I bought this property in 1976. Didn't know what I was going to do with it. It was 666 acres at the time, and that's what I was doing, is buying and selling land on my own. And I just got this wild idea one day.
That's incredible.
To do a golf course. And actually we're going to do a golf course and a hotel here, which was going to be a redo of Frank Lloyd Wright design that he did in 1928, but because of the times they couldn't do it. There was some financial issues. They still had the design, and so we were going to do the hotel here.
A design from 1928?
A 1928 design by Frank Lloyd Wright, and wow. Really beautiful hotel. And then 1980, 81, we had sort of a downturn in our financial world, and interest rates hit about 20%. So I said, let's go to Plan B, which was Desert Highlands.
So Desert Highlands and this incredible community.
This whole thing is Plan B.
This is Plan B.
Plan B.
Well, it's a pretty good Plan B.
And we were going to do a golf course here, but then we were going to do the hotel. So we scrapped the hotel, and then I decided to go ahead and do a private golf club, which has turned out to be Desert Highlands, and we're very proud of it. Turned out to be fine. Great.
Turned out to be a pretty good Plan B.
Plan B was great.
I love that. So can you tell us a little bit more about the process of, from a developer, when you had the vision, what's the processes that you had to go through in order to make Desert Highlands a reality?
Well, the first thing that we had to do was to build Pinnacle Peak.
You nailed it.
It nailed it. It was really...
That turned out pretty well.
That was an effort. I mean,
I could imagine.
Yeah, spoonful by spoonful we had to build it. So then we have this marvelous Pinnacle Peak background, and then from there we started developing. But the first thing was obviously to get Jack Nicklaus involved, and that was an idea I had to help promote the project, as well as the fact that I thought he was the best designer in golf, and he had an incredible personal reputation as far as his family and his sportsmanship. So I really admired him, didn't know him, and so I decided to cold call Jack Nicklaus. And I called his office and I told his secretary, I said, I don't want to be so presumptuous that I could talk to Jack, but could you take this down? And so I told her what I had in mind. And 5 minutes later, the president of the company called me and he said, would you repeat that? And I did. And he said, Jack Nicklaus will be very interested in doing it. And so we set up a meeting and we met down in Texas. He was playing in a golf tournament and I met Jack and we hit it off, and we've been lifelong friends for 40 some years and done a lot of things together. But Jack was very enthusiastic about this. He really thought that this would be really a very interesting opportunity for him. He was fairly early in his career, and he came to Arizona. And I remember.
Yeah, what was his first impression? You've walked this property, you've walked Pinnacle Peak. When he walked on this property for the first time, what was his reaction?
Jack was really enthusiastic. I remember we went right over here on the first tee, where the first tee is. We walked up there alone. I said, let's go talk alone for a minute, because he had 4 or 5 people with him, that were engineers and various people looking at the property. And he walked away and he said, Lyle, if you let me do this golf course, I think we'd have the best golf course in the Southwest. And I said, I said, you got to look me in the eye, and he did. And I said, you're doing this yourself? He says, absolutely. And I shook hands, and there we went. So Desert Highlands was born.
Incredible.
And we had a wonderful time. I think Jack probably made 15 to 20 visits here just to do Desert Highlands, and tremendous experience. And then we've gone on together. We did 12 golf courses around the world, and from scratch. And I'm very proud to say he's one of my best friends.
It's an incredible
and
relationship.
We've had lots of relations. I play a lot of golf with him. I've never beat him. One time I beat him on 9 holes.
Hold it over his head.
Oh, he'll never forget. I can describe every hole and every shot.
I can imagine. Jack, that time I took you down on those 9, you remember that?
Jack Nicklaus, when he first came here, I think it was 1980, 81. He won 2 major championships that year. So Jack Nicklaus was really the top golfer in the world. And in 1986, he won the Masters. And so we asked Jack if he would come here, which he did. And we had a big crowd in the clubhouse, just to the members of Desert Highlands. And Jack narrated his Masters victory in 1986. And as he was narrating, he had tears in his eyes. He narrated the win coming down the stretch and winning the Masters. And Jack Nicklaus was in total tears. And everybody here was too, that was here. And that was one of the highlights of Desert Highlands. That was one of the high moments that we've had here. And happened right here in the clubhouse.
That's history that just lives forever. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. During the Skins game, which took everybody by storm, to have Arnold Palmer here and Jack Nicklaus, Tom Watson, and Gary Player, and have them interacting with the members like they did at the time. And they were really, at the time, you have to realize they were all top players at the time, and obviously very famous. And quite an experience for the members. They had a very intimate 2-year experience with those 4 players. and all the television that was going on and the hoopla about the Skins game, which was very exciting for people across the country. Those are extremely memorable moments. I'm sure there's a lot of members here that still remember those.
That must have been surreal.
It was surreal.
Can only imagine.
And you know, even when we were living it, it was very surreal.
I can only imagine. I'm trying to picture the Big Four standing in front of me,
and I remember one of my very favorite moments of my life was the second year, 1984. I brought my dad, who was fairly ill at the time. I brought my father, and he introduced him to all four of them, and they spent quite a bit of time with him, and he was really thrilled. He lived for a couple of more years, but he was very, very thrilled with that, and I was thrilled too.
That must have been a special
Yeah,
moment.
for him to meet these people, and he was a golfer, and those are great moments.
When I play Desert Highlands, you know, Desert Highlands has some teeth, you know, and when you think of Desert Highlands, you know, what's your favorite hole, and what are the holes that give you the most trouble out here?
Well, none of them. They're just a piece of cake. All these.
All of them, yeah.
No, when we
Not
did
a challenge at all.
When we did Desert Highlands, it was, let's say, by design, not an easy course, and it was a challenging golf course, but a fair golf course. It was fairly, you know, we tried to make the fairways wide where we could, but boy, we spent a lot of time talking about making this golf course memorable, and it is. And it not only was it memorable back in 1980 when we built it, when we designed it, but it's memorable today. And so Desert Highlands is still one of the best golf courses in the Southwest.
One of the unique aspects of Desert Highlands, especially at the time, was that we have this incredible putting course that was the first of its kind in North America. Can you talk about where that came from and your vision and how that came about?
Desi, I remember standing on the first tee, which looks down on that area, and we were going to have a bunch of, let's say, equivalent of condominiums down there. It was one of our original plans was to have a lot of density. Mm-hmm. And I took a look at it and I said, no, I don't think that would look good from the first tee, because the first tee is spectacular here. And I said, I just don't think that's the right look. And I had seen the putting course over at St. Andrews, and I just all of a sudden got the idea that why don't I do a putting course with houses around it? It would look a lot better. It would, and we'd move the not have it so close to the fairways and all that kind of thing. And I said, looking down on it, you know, over time, I think it would be a much better site. So we did the putting course and designed the houses around the putting course, and that's what we have. That's how it came about. And it was going to be a condominium project, and it changed it.
Oh, well, I love the putting course. That also has some teeth to it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And
I was very heavily involved in the putting course. We did have an interesting time early on, right after the putting course was done. One of the events we had here was a putting tournament in which Jack Nicklaus came. First of all, he had to qualify. And then if you qualified, then you putted in a tournament with Jack Nicklaus.
That must have been.
And one of our members tied him for the. Jack putted. Jack had not seen the golf course, and so he tied for low score. But there was a qualifying. We had like a week of qualifying where people would come out and putt, and we'd keep their score, and whoever had the low scores would qualify. So we had a few players that played with Jack, And that was quite an event. Yeah.
Well, that's a great lead-in to one of something I think is an incredible legacy is the skins game.
Oh.
And how the skins game was developed, and how did you come up with the vision of the skins game for Desert Highlands?
Well, Jack, when Jack came and we did when we did our agreement on the golf course, I said, Jack, I would need some help promoting this because it was unknown, and the whole thing was unknown what we're going to do. And he said he would. And by the way, when he came, so we signed a promotional contract to where he'd get a little piece of the sales. And then he came on all his design trips here. We had cocktail parties here in Phoenix for various people we'd invite and all that. So that started it. And part of Jack's contract was that he would work to see if he could get us some sort of a tournament. And so he came along one day and said, I've got this idea that somebody approached me to have this tournament in Hawaii, and called the skins game. And he said, I told him, well, I'd like to play in it. And obviously they wanted Jack to play. And I'd like to play in it, but I want to be at Desert Highlands. They said, well, Desert Highlands, what's Desert Highlands? He said, well, it's a new course of having Scottsdale. And they said, well, no, we want to do it in Hawaii. Well, Jack said, well, then have a nice game. And so they changed their mind and came here and looked at it. And Don Oldmeyer was the promoter at the time. He came and saw Desert Highlands, and he says, it was on the 16th hole, he said to me, because I was taking him around personally on the golf course. And he said, Lyle, if we have this thing, if you can have this, if you'll do this thing here, I promise this will be famous by Sunday night. And we shook hands on the skins game, and that was 1983.
Wow.
And Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer, Gary Player, and Tom Watson played. And the next year, they wanted another player, I'm not going to mention his name, to replace one of the players. I said, no, we're going to have the same players. I said, we had such a wonderful first year, and so we did the skins game the second year. And
incredible.
At the end of the second year, I thought we accomplished what we wanted to accomplish.
Yeah. What did that do to Desert Highlands when that got out? And
it made it famous. And one of the things that also made it famous was that we didn't let anybody play here unless they were playing with a member. And couldn't get on the course, and a lot of people wanted to get on the course.
Yeah.
And during those first few years, we had many, many, many people coming from all over the United States to play because it became I think it was ranked 25th in the nation the first year. And a lot of celebrities, a lot of people playing, and everybody wanted to play in, but we kept to that standard. You had to play with a member.
And it was so unique. I have to imagine the people who came out and played Desert Highlands who had never played desert golf. I mean, it was a completely unique experience.
Very unique and very sought after to play. And obviously people couldn't get on. I remember Jack Nicklaus told me, if you want this place to be successful, keep the people off the course. So, and it was a very wise statement. So that I followed that. That was good.
So Lyle, when we look at Desert Highlands and we see the bouldering and the landscape and all of the natural, foliage that's going on, how do you get this in a point where it's developable and you can put houses and you can put a golf course? It seems like such an incredible monumental task.
Well, first of all, I've been buying land I syndicated land for a number of years prior to doing this, and I bought land myself. And you look at it from that standpoint, you understand it. You can see the opportunities when you sort of train yourself to see it. And when my first trip to Arizona, I remember driving up this road, Happy Valley Road, and seeing Pinnacle Peak. I remember going to the steakhouse over here and seeing Pinnacle Peak. And I looked at the property and I said, that's a piece of property I want to own. And sure enough, a few years later, or shortly, a couple, 3 years later, it popped up, and I happened to get to know the owner, and he sold it to me. So I remember I paid more than anybody else paid for land around here for this property, but it was something that I wanted to own, and I didn't know what I wanted to do at the time with it, but as I got to see the land and spend many hours on the land, you start to feel it and see it and kind of see it and feel that, yeah, this could be something. It could be a great residential community and with a nice, beautiful golf course. And then I thought about the hotel, and I was talking Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation got a hold of me and tried to convince me to do the hotel, and I was pretty convinced to do it until, like I mentioned, the financial troubles of 1980, the inflation and all that, and the interest rates. So
Definitely an inspirational
yeah.
spot.
And designing the golf course with Nicklaus was a very interesting experience, because we really started with the golf course and kind of found the right holes in the right places, and then placed the residential in, and that his job was to do the golf course, mine was to do the residential as it fit around the golf course. And it's kind of like working with clay and
A ballet of sorts.
yeah, it really is, and lots of interesting twists and turns and things that we did, but we wound up with a beautiful layout, and we wound up with a nice, beautiful community.
Oh, incredible. Was there a lot of TNT used here at Desert Highlands?
No, not a lot of dirt was moved.
Really?
We try to move dirt in a very sensitive way and that says we balance the dirt. We didn't have a lot of any import or export of dirt. We moved the site around a little bit, but we try to move it. Jack is very, very, very sensitive to nature, and he designs golf courses in kind of in the way that water flows, and that's how land is carved over time, based upon water flow and different things, and so we try to design the golf course to fit with the land. I think it does here.
The whole community does. It's really
and then
spectacular.
there's also, then you get into looking at the residential on the sides, and you have to really consider how that looks from the residential side to the golf course, and how it fits and how it moves, and so it's a real process.
What are some of the things that you're most proud of when you think of Desert Highlands?
Well, one of the things that was very motivating to me was that I was a member of a club here in Phoenix, and the clubs at that time were, quite different than they are today. They had a lot of restrictions. They had restrictions as to members, who could be members, men's and women aspects and different things. And I had a situation where I was a member of a private club here, and I saw the issue about their waiting list of getting in, their membership process of deciding who got in, those kinds of things. And
it was very exclusive.
Yeah, it was exclusive, but
not in a positive way.
Not exclusive can be a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I think I wanted to have something exclusive, but inclusive of everybody. So I came up with the idea of having a golf course in which whoever bought land was a member, and when they sold their land, then that new buyer was the member immediately, with no waiting list, no issues about race or religion, gender, and I had some real pushback, but not for very long. It was very interesting how people took to it. I was really the people in the metropolitan Phoenix area that were buying They really liked it. They thought that was a great idea. But at first, it was sort of, there was a pushback because it hadn't been done. I'm most proud of that for Desert Highlands, because we were the very first, probably, club to do that. And I think it's taken hold. I think it's taken hold in the country. I think it changed the culture of private golf clubs to some extent. And I think it is more, let's say, acceptable than it's ever been. So I think we made progress.
I'd say so. Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm most proud of that. I'd also say that I'm very proud of the members here, that they've taken the club. I sold the club to the members in 1994, and I think we established a culture here of a few rules, but good rules, that were for everybody, that were across the board. I mean, good, and of a culture of congeniality, a culture of respect for each other. And I think the members have taken and have really, we started that way. I think that the members have really picked up on it, and this is a fabulous club today. Improvements that they've done to the clubhouse over time and the facilities makes me very proud.
You should be.
I am.
Congratulations.
I am.
I also know that this club, from an environmental standpoint, was very unique, and the things that you and Jack did here from an environmental standpoint were very unique at the time. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, that's the other thing I'd say I'm quite proud of, and that is we started, this natural Sonoran Desert is beautiful. I fell in love with it, and one of the things that Jack and I both said way from the very beginning, that we wanted to save as much as this as possible, and in terms of developing and develop very sensitively. So one thing we did two things we did. One, we saved the primary specimen plants, the cacti, the trees that were here, most of those plants and the different kinds of cacti, and we boxed them, we put them in nurseries, and then we replanted them back in places so we revegetated the property with the natural plants. And we also saved a tremendous amount of water the way we irrigated the golf course and the way we designed the golf course. So we both saved the plant life, and we also were much more conservative in terms of water. And that water conservation was adopted by, our standards were adopted later by the State Department of Water Resources, and now all golf courses have limitations in terms of the amount of water they can put in here in the desert, which didn't hurt the playability at all, and it really saved a lot of water. The other thing that all of down North Scottsdale really enjoys is the fact that when we did the revegetation of the plants, that was not required at the time, now it is. And so the city of Scottsdale adopted a lot of our policies, and all of North Scottsdale now has those policies. Prior to that, people were just blading the desert and burning the cactus and all kinds of things that not as attractive as it is today, that's for sure.
What are some of the things that, looking back at Desert Highlands, 40 years ago, and you say, man, I wish maybe I would have changed that a little bit, or this or that. Are there any things that you go back and you say, I wish I would have done that a little differently?
Well, first thing I'd say is I wish I could do this all over again just the way it is. So, because I had so much fun doing it and so much enjoyment in life. Not a lot. There's not a lot that we would have done differently at the time. And even if the project were today, I'd say this would be a pretty good model.
It's pretty great.
To do. I don't think I'd change a whole lot.
Congratulations.
No.
That's.
But it was a lot. It was a lot. I'll tell you, it was a lot of work. It was a lot of fun. Like I say, I wish I could go back and do it all over again.
Well, I know your eye for detail is is renowned in the industry, you know, and me and my colleagues talk about it a lot, of your vision and how when your vision is put to paper, it always turns out incredibly.
But you know, this clubhouse site was, there was going to be a hotel here, as I mentioned.
Yeah.
And then when decided to scrap the hotel, I came back and looked at this site. This is such a perfect site for a clubhouse with the way this turned out. And when we built the clubhouse and we just first started, it was quite a hit in Phoenix. Yeah. And this was a big ticket to get to come up here and have dinner and all the different things, because it was quite a ways out at the time, if you recall. And a lot of people said, "Why are you doing something way out there?" It didn't take long for people to figure out. It was pretty good.
Yeah, would you, that 15-minute drive or 20-minute drive up, it's a world of difference when you get up in the...
It's a world of difference, but it turned out to be a very popular place.
Are there things that you learned at Desert Highlands that you were able to take up to some of your other communities, whether that's Las Campanas or Desert Mountain or some of your other communities that you've developed around the world?
Well, the first thing we learned, of course, is how to handle the desert, how to replenish it, replant the desert and save the plants, save water, and did that up Desert Mountain. And how to be sensitive. We understand understand the issues like the washes. One thing we found out, a wash is a wash. You try to change the wash and it comes right back to the way it used to be.
Water will do that.
Water flows. That was one of the lessons we learned here. And there was a wash we had that decided to go back the way it was before. And so we learned not to mess with the washes, because that water flows. I think that every project you do, you learn something. You learn more about development. You learn more about moving land and being more sensitive and building in the desert, or wherever we might be.
So Lyle, you developed this incredible property, and what kind of people did you see drawn to Desert Highlands, you know, from around the world? You know, who if you had to describe Desert Highlands in 5 words, you know, what would you or what would others describe it as?
Well, I think first of all, when we first got started here at Desert Highlands, we really were talking mostly to local people and brought a lot of local people up here. They were quite surprised, by the way, because a lot of people hadn't really been up in this area and didn't realize how beautiful it was, because people living in the valley. And so we had a great reaction locally. And then we did the Skins game, and that was broadcast nationally. 2 4-hour segments, or 3 hour, well, I guess they were 3-hour segments roughly, and broadcast nationally, and that really hit the world of golf and hit television. And so we started attracting people from all over the United States, and people discovered this part of Scottsdale, and it was a sensation. And it probably really ignited a lot of interest in golf communities and retirement here in Scottsdale. And a lot of people bought their homes pre-retirement, and we had people buying homes from Phoenix actually moving up. And so we had a good mix of people from the Phoenix area that moved up, and also from people from all over the United States.
Obviously, golf was a really important part of the original vision, but Desert Highlands is so much more than just golf. What was your intent for the community as you built it for those who didn't golf?
First and foremost, Desert Highlands was meant to be a community that just happened to have a golf course. We also did some wonderful tennis here at the very beginning. We had grass courts, clay courts, and hard courts. And we built tennis facilities here at the same time. We had plans to build the recreational facility here. It was built a little later. This was first and foremost a residential community that just happened to have these amenities. And of course, the big amenity too was the clubhouse, the restaurant. And so I think our goal was not to build a golf course, it was to build a community.
Well,
And
that
we
you
did.
succeeded.
Yeah, we succeeded in building a community, and it's first and foremost a community.
Beautiful.
And we had some, obviously, homeowners association, things of that nature that a community has. And this has really turned out to be, I think it's, what is it, 500 units or something of that nature?
563, yeah.
563, yeah. That was our plan.
Terrific.
Yeah.
So for those who haven't been to Desert Highlands, what are a few words that you feel like would describe Desert Highlands if somebody closed their eyes and tried to picture what it is?
Fabulous place to live. Beautiful views, both at the mountains and at the city lights. In a great location in Scottsdale and in the southwestern desert.
Lyle, we're sitting here at the 40th anniversary of Desert Highlands. Could you have ever imagined that your vision here in the North Scottsdale would have transformed this entire community? 40 years later, it's really incredible. What was your vision when you built Desert Highlands? Did you expect it to have this kind of explosion in North Scottsdale?
Well, it's hard to imagine that, but what happened, because when we were here way back in 40 years ago, you look out and it was like way out here. It was like way out of town.
Dirt roads to get here.
Oh yeah, dirt roads, and there were paved roads up to here, but from here on it was all dirt.
Yeah.
And so we were at the edge of civilization at the time. And a lot of people questioned. There were a lot of questions. Well, what are you doing? Are you crazy? And I said, yeah, I'm crazy. It's okay. And so there were a lot of people, a lot of skeptics that what was this too far out? What was it? All those kinds of things. And I had a vision for it that I thought, no, I think it's going to be very successful. But I was not, let's say, I was in the minority of people that thought that. But as it turned out, I think that I would say the skins game was extremely influential in getting this started, kind of lit the fire for North Scottsdale. Yeah. And so that was a good move, that we got the skins game here, got it on television. It was a sensation. It was rated better than the U.S. Open. Did you know that?
I didn't
Second
know that.
year?
No.
Second year it rated better than the U.S. Open in terms of ratings. And because it really kind of took the golf world by, it was a sensation. And it, like I say, lit the fire. And then things started happening up here, and then other communities started coming, and here it is. Now it's part of the culture of Phoenix and Scottsdale.
Well, I think it's built.
And yeah,
helped build the culture of Scottsdale.
yeah,
and
it
Phoenix.
did. And we did this clubhouse here, which was, I remember, done by Bill Smistowski, was the architect, and we wanted to do something in more of the Santa Fe type style. That was new to a lot of things up in this area, and this clubhouse has stood the test of time. It's 40 years old. Look at it. It's really hasn't changed, and it's going to look forward to the same 40 years from now. And
Awesome.
Setting in this rock formations and in this setting, beautiful.
There's
And it
really
won
not a bad view.
It won a lot of international awards.
Yeah. There's not a bad view at Desert Highlands from anywhere you stand.
And like I say, the members have done a great job of, clubhouses have to be refurnished, they have to be redone, and over time, the interiors and some of the things that they've added, like the Jack's Bar and things of that nature. I'm very excited about that because I'm seeing that the love that the members have for the club
Yeah.
is really great.
part of what you do, your development side, is there a legacy that you're leaving to your family with that? I know some of the families involved in Lyle Anderson development. And
I think that the whole thing is a legacy from the development side. I've had my boys involved in a lot of development. They've been involved in the company over the years, and very, very proud. And I'm happy to say that we're still developing. We're still doing some things. We're doing some things in Hawaii. We're doing some things in Cabo, San Lucas. I've got a big situation here with the state land department that I'm doing a big project. So we're still active.
And you get to do it with your family.
I
which
get
has
to
be
do
pretty
with families involved.
pretty
They're
special.
not. They've got their own businesses. Both in their own areas. One is still in development, and my other boy is has his own computer services business.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and they were both involved in development. They're very happy about what's happened.
Yeah.
But no, it's nice to be able to do some things in your life that live on.
Are there any people throughout your career that you've partnered with? Obviously, we've talked about
Oh,
Jack.
yeah.
Are there people that were really critical in your success and the success of some of your properties that you'd like to mention?
I've had mentors along the way that I learned a lot from. I didn't have a business background, so I had to learn a lot about business and a hard way,
Yeah.
And had a lot of people help me in terms of giving me advice and various things along the way. Yeah, I think we all learn from others. Then I learned by watching what other people do. And one of the things that I really focused on is the quality. We tried to say, let's put the most quality we can into everything. And that's really helped. That's really helped the success of the projects. Quality.
Congratulations.
Quality, not only quality of physical development, but also quality of the people that we have and the way we treat people and the way we treat our members. We expect the members to treat everybody fairly. That's the culture of our company.
So as you look back on your incredible career, and I know it's not over, so
No, it's not.
no, you got a lot of.
No, I'm not. By the way, nobody's going to get me to quit.
No. What do you want people to see as your legacy? Those kids watching this video 40 or 50 years from now, and thinking about Desert Highlands and Lyle Anderson. What do you feel like your legacy is?
Well, if I could talk to others that someday later, I'd say we can all do it. We can do what we can dream, and then we can create, and we can execute and do it.
Beautiful.
It's hard work. It's not easy, but I think everybody has an opportunity if they want to and express themselves in their way.
Well, Lyle, on behalf of all of Desert Highlands, on top of the golf community in general, I want to thank you. Thank you for being here today, and it was just such a treat to get to sit down and hear about your vision for Desert Highlands. Can't thank you enough for all you've done for this community, for the golf world, and for me personally. So.
Well, thank you, Desi, and it's been a pleasure for me to watch the evolution of the club, how it's evolved. Like I say, I'm very proud of it, and I have a chance to really enjoy it. It's a very enjoyable experience to have something like this that I started and helped create, and come back and enjoy it later. It's really been fun. Every time I come up here with a big smile on my face.